Hey everyone, welcome to the third lesson of the course. Now, I'm going to create now a cool effect for all of these characters. I want to make them look like some sort of comic effect, and this is a really fun thing to do, and we're going to learn it step by step. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to separate all of them into different groups, because of course I don't want to create one single effect for all of them, because later on I will have to fix some things individually. For example, you can see that this guy, the black tones on the hair are different than these guys and different from her, so I have to work with them individually, so I don't want to lose that. So I'm going to create different groups. This one will be the female lead. This one will be the support. Another group for the antagonist or the bad guy, and another one for the male lead. Okay, now I'm going to create this effect only for her, and then I'm going to duplicate it for all of them, so that will be easier. I'm going to turn them off for now, and I'm going to keep only the girl. Now, there's one thing that I need to do. I want to convert this layer. You can see that right now it's a regular layer. I want to convert this layer to a smart object, because this way it's easier to apply filters to it and separate them. Right now, if I go to filter and, for example, let me use color halftone, click OK. Right now you can see that if I apply this filter, I have no way of turning back other than going and press Ctrl C. But if I convert this to a smart object by right clicking and select convert to smart object, you can see that this is a smart object now. Now if I select filter and color halftone, you can see that we now have a thing called smart filters, and I can turn on and off this color halftone whenever I want. And if I double click on it, I can even select the blending options for this effect. I can change the opacity, I can change the mode if I wanted it to be multiplied. So it's more manageable, and it's way better to apply filters like this. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to keep this as a smart object. So I'm going to be applying filters to this layer, and I can customize them more easily when they are smart objects. So let's begin adding some filters to this image, and I'm going to show you what any filter does. First, let's go to filter, and we will open the filter gallery on Photoshop. You can see the window, the tab filter. We have filter gallery. Let's open it, and it will open a new menu that will have a lot of filters. You can see we have several folders. We have the artistic, brush strokes, distort, sketch, stylize, texture. You're probably familiar with with this window and with these effects. So I'm not going to show you every of these filters, but specifically the ones that we're going to use for creating the comic effect. Remember that we're going to set some values here on every filter that we use, but it's just a matter of what you feel it looks better on the image that you're going to use. What works on this image doesn't necessarily work on another image. Maybe you have to set different values to get the right effect. So let's go to artistic and select poster edges. You can see that these poster edges, let's change the edge thickness for now. You can see that this does a lot of the work, because it itself creates some part of the comic effect that we want. You can see how the edges are really dark, and they have like some filter that makes them really dark, like comic dark. You can see that we can see every detail of the face, and you can play around with the thickness of the edges. If you want, if you place on 0, you can see that it's really small edges, and if we go all the way to 10, you can see that the thickness is really big. And for the intensity, it's about the color of the edges. If I go to 10, you can see that the edges are really dark, are completely black. And if I go to 0, you can see that we have a whole different effect. You can see that it looks like a comic still, but with no edges. So this is a very cool effect, and we can play also with the posterization. If I go to 0, you can see that this takes the image very different. We can play around with the intensity, and if I set it to 6, there's almost no effect going on here on the posterization side. You can see that the posterization, what it does is that it creates some kind of layers based on the color of the image. So I'm going to set the edge thickness to 0 because I want the edges to be really thin, because I want the comic effect to be really subtle. Now on the intensity, let's go to 4 so that they are dark but not too dark, like this. 4 is okay. And for the posterization, we can work with 1. So you can see that we have a nice tones here. We have the shadows and the highlights well defined, and it looks really cool, the comic effect. This poster edges almost has done everything for the comic effect, but we still need to get some other things. So let's click OK for now. And now you can see that we have the small filters that I just showed you, and you have here a filter gallery button right here. If you double click on this button, you can change some parts of the blending options for the filter. For example, if I change this to multiply, you can see how the effect changes. If I change this to overlay, it also changes. It blends with the image below. And I can change the opacity however I want. So it's really good because I can customize the effect to whatever the effect I want. So I'm going to leave the mode on normal, but I'm going to lower the opacity to 75%. So this way you can see that the effect is there, but it's not completely dark like it was on 100%. So 75 is good because we can see the effect, but it's not so dark. Click OK. Now, with the same layer selected, go to Image, Adjustments, and Brightness and Contrast. This brightness and contrast will also be a smart filter. Now, increase the brightness just a little bit, like 50%, and for the contrast, let's work with 25%. You can see the difference. We have a more bright image, and the contrast is looking really nice. So we are getting there with the comic effect. Now click OK. Now again with the layer selected, let's go again to the filter gallery. And this time, instead of going for poster edges, we will go to cutout. And cutout is a really nice effect because you can see that it separates all the tones on the image into different separate tones. You can see that the darkness is on a whole different kind of layer. It's not a separate layer, but it's as if the effect would have separated everything, and everything is more pronounced than before. You can see that before we almost didn't separate the shadows and the likeness on one image, but this time you can see that these are really sharp, all the tones on the image. So you can play around with the number of levels. If you select a low number of levels, take a look, and you can see that the shadow is almost taking everything. This looks super weird on 3 levels. If we add some more levels, we will get some more details, of course. For the edge simplicity, if we go to 10, you can see that all the parts of the image, the tones, are really simple. But if we set it to 0, we get way too much detail. You can see that these are really detailed, the face. And for the fidelity, it's about smoothing the edges. You can see that the higher the fidelity is, the more realistic it looks as to the image. So what we're going to do is we will leave the number of levels on 8. We will change the edge simplicity to 3 and the edge fidelity to 2. And you will have this, a very cool looking effect. Now click OK. You can take a closer look. And this time, let's go again to the filter gallery. Sadly, Photoshop doesn't name these filters separately. It just calls them filter gallery. It would be excellent if it shows like cutout and poster edges, but well, you can know that this is cut out because this was the last that we created. So double click on it, and now for the blending mode, let's set it to normal. Let's keep it that way. And for the opacity, instead of 75, let's go to 70. Now you can see that the effect is there, but it has blended a lot with the original image, so it looks way better. Because if we set it to 100, we can't see anymore the poster edges. So if we set it to 70, we can see a little more realistic about the poster edge and the original image. So this is fine. Let's click OK and continue with the next filter. Okay, again, let's go to filter, but this time we will not open the filter gallery, but we will open the pixelate tab here, and we will select color halftone. Color halftone is really amazing. I'm going to show you what it does at first, and then we will set the right values. If we click OK here, you can see that we have the color halftone and we have the radius, which means the radius of the effect, and we have the screen angles. We have channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, and 4. If we click OK, we will have this. You can see that we created a halftone made of the tones of the image. You can see that the really dark tones are at the really dark tones of the image itself, and it was created with these circles. That's color halftone. Now let's go again back, and this time we will set the right values. Let's go to pixelate, color halftone, and for the radius, instead of 8, we will set it to 4, because if we set it to 4, let's click OK for now, you can see that the circles are smaller, so that they will have more details. You can see more of the image below. If you set it, for example, to 16, the circles are going to be very huge. So let's set the maximum radius to 4. Now for the screen angles, let's set this to 45, and you will see how they look now. You can see that they are all in the same place. They are no longer intertwined, but they are all in the same place. So that's excellent, because I just want the dots. I just want the little dots that comes out with this effect. I don't want the different colors intertwining themselves. I just want the little dots to create the effect. Now you will have this. So let's go to this tab, double click, and set the opacity to 75. But this time on the blending modes, instead of normal, we will choose soft light because I want this effect to really blend with the image below. If I go to soft light, you can see that this looks super cool, and now it really looks like a pop art comic effect on the image. So it's amazing that we created this using just Photoshop. Instead of 75, let's set it to 70 because I want the effect to be even more subtle. Now just click OK, and that's it. This is it for the comic effect, but we're going to add some little more details so that we can have a really nice effect. But so far it's looking really good. You can see how it changed. Totally different. And if you see this on the internet or something, you may even think that this is an illustration, but it's just a bunch of filters applied to one image. Now let's create some more details. Let's take a duplicate of this woman layer with Ctrl and J, create this duplicate, and on this duplicate I will delete the smart filters, so it's going to be just the regular image. And we will go to filter gallery, and now let's go to the folder stylize, and you can see that we have only one effect, which is called glowing edges. Now glowing edges is a cool effect. We can create many things with glowing edges. If you want some kind of weird looking poster, you can use this effect as it is right now, but for now we're going to use it to create some little strokes on the face of the girl, on the complete image. So if you select the width and you increase it, you can see how the glowing edges are really thick, and the same goes with the brightness. You can have this really weird looking effect, but as everything on Photoshop, it may work for different things. We won't use it this way right now, but maybe for another project you can use it this way. So it's just a matter of taking a look at what you really need for certain effects. And the smoothness, it's really simple what it does. So for glowing edges, we will set the width to 2 and the brightness to 2 also. And for the smoothness, instead of going to 1, you can see that we can see almost the entire girl. We will set it to 15, and we will see things like this. It's almost invisible what we can accomplish here. And actually, instead of 2 on the width, I'm going to press on 1 so that the lines are even thinner. Now click OK, and you will have this. Now without changing anything, we will go again to filter gallery, and let's go now to the folder sketch. Now this folder is really interesting because we have a lot of effect that will simulate some drawings or sketching. So let's select turn edges, and you can see how it looks right now. What it does, it's taking the glowing edges lines, the most bright part of the glowing edges, and there it's taken and turning them into completely white. And you can see that the rest is really black. Now you can change the balance. If you increase the balance or decrease it, you can change the parts that are bright. You can change the smoothness, and you can change the contrast. So for the image balance, we will select 4. The smoothness, we will set it to the maximum, which is 15. And for the contrast, I think 12 is okay, because I only want these little lines right here, these little strokes, the edges. Now click OK. Now don't worry about it looking really weird. Just take this layer and set the blending modes to overlay. Now let's change the opacity to maybe 35. And now let's take a look at what this did. You can see that we have now some kind of little strokes here, for example on the mouth, on the nose. Let's see where else. Here on the scalp. So this added like more detail to the edge on the darkness on the edges. Okay. And now we are done with the comic effect. You can see that it's looking super cool at the moment. So we're going good with this comic effect. So now it's time to apply all these effects to our other characters. So let's begin with the antagonist guy. And if I want to copy all the smart filters, what I need to do is to create a duplicate of this girl right here, the female lead. I have to create a duplicate. And this duplicate is the one that I'm going to use to copy all the filters. I'm going to turn this off right now. Now, take the smart filters here for this duplicate and just drop them into our antagonist guy. Of course, you need to turn this layer into a smart object too. Now, just drop the smart filters here. And you can see that this guy already have the smart filters. Now you will find that sometimes some filters that we applied for the girl won't apply to the other characters. For example, the brightness and contrast on this guy is too much, so I'm going to decrease it to around 60%. Okay, so this looks better now. And now let's create a duplicate of this guy. And let's create a duplicate of the glowing edges so that we can apply the same filters. We take the filters that are the glowing edges and drop them here. And remember that this should be on overlay and around 20%. All right. Now let's repeat the same process. You can delete this one. For the other guys, create a duplicate of the female lead. Make sure this one is a smart object. And place all the filters into the support character. Wait for it. Okay. Again, we can change the brightness and contrast. Make it less bright. And with a lot more contrast. All right. And finally, our male lead. Create a duplicate here. Make sure it's on a smart object and drop the filters into him. Play with the brightness and contrast. And for this guy, the saturation should be a little lower too. But right now he's way too saturated. Let's increase the saturation. All right, that's better now. All right, now all of them have the same effect. You can see it's a really nice effect. If you take a closer look, you can see how it looks. It's some sort of like the Grand Theft Auto look. So it's really nice. And of course, right now they look completely different from each other because she has some different black tones than the rest of them. So we're going to fix that on the next lesson. So see you on the next one.